These kidnappers never expected the little girl they captured to be a bloodthirsty vampire. The film begins by showing a young girl named Abigail practicing ballet in a theater as preparation for an upcoming performance. Everything seems calm and normal, but outside the building, a group of kidnappers has already been watching her and carefully planning her abduction without her knowledge.
See y'all on the other side.
Yes, sir.
After finishing her practice, Abigail is picked up as usual and driven home, completely unaware that the kidnappers have secretly attached a tracking device to the car, allowing them to monitor her every movement. The moment Abigail starts heading home, the kidnappers move ahead of her and make their way to the mansion first. One of them, who works as the hacker of the group, successfully breaks into the house security system, unlocking access to the property while simultaneously disabling all of the surveillance cameras. With the area secured and a sniper watching from a distance, the other 3 kidnappers quietly enter the house and hide inside Abigail's bedroom, waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
You, over there.
Not long after, Abigail arrives home and walks straight into her room, completely unaware of the danger waiting for her inside.
Yeah. It was good. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine.
As soon as she gets onto her bed, the kidnappers suddenly emerge from hiding and attack her. Abigail tries to fight back by stabbing one of them in the hand with a pencil, but her resistance is not enough to escape. She is eventually overpowered. One of the kidnappers, furious after being injured, nearly hits her, but another member quickly stops him before injecting Abigail with a sedative to keep the situation under control. Once Abigail loses consciousness, they place her inside a bag and prepare to leave the house. At the same time, one of their teammates warns them that Abigail's father has just returned home, forcing everyone to move much faster. The security system that had previously been disabled suddenly reactivates, making the escape even more urgent. Fortunately, the hacker manages to reopen the main gate just in time, allowing the group to escape before getting caught. Their journey continues until they finally arrive at a remote mansion far away from the city.
What the fuck?
There they meet Lambert, the man behind the entire kidnapping operation. Abigail, who is still unconscious, is locked inside a room with her hands handcuffed and her eyes covered. Lambert then gathers the entire team and explains the rules they must follow during the operation. None of them are allowed to use their real names or discuss their personal backgrounds in order to protect their identities. He then reveals that their job is to keep Abigail alive for the next 24 hours until her father pays a ransom of $50 million, although Lambert deliberately refuses to reveal who Abigail's father really is. To avoid being traced, all of their phones are confiscated, and each member is assigned a fake name for the duration of the mission. Joey, Frank, Sammy, Peter, Rick, and Dean. Once the briefing is over, the atmosphere slowly becomes more relaxed as the group gathers around the bar area. During the conversation, Joey confidently claims that she can figure out everyone's background just by looking at them. The others quickly turn it into a challenge, and surprisingly, Joey manages to guess nearly all of them correctly. She concludes that Frank used to be a high-ranking police officer, Peter is a hired enforcer, Sammy is a spoiled rich girl looking for excitement, Rick is a former military sniper, and Dean is simply a driver with unstable mental issues. Not wanting to lose, Frank then tries to guess Joey's past as well. He assumes that Joey is a former addict, currently trying to recover, mainly because of her habit of constantly eating candy. After the conversation, Joey begins to worry because the sedative given to Abigail should have started wearing off by now. She decides to check on her and enters the room, finding Abigail tied up with her eyes covered, trembling in fear while begging to be released because the handcuffs are hurting her wrists. Feeling sympathy for the little girl, Joey covers her own face so Abigail will not recognize her identity before removing the blindfold and slightly loosening the handcuffs. Abigail immediately bursts into tears, and Joey gently tries to calm her down, explaining that they only want the ransom money and have no intention of hurting her. To gain Abigail's trust, Joey even tells her that she is also a mother with a child around the same age, and that she simply wants this whole situation to end so she can return home to her son. During their conversation, Abigail quietly admits that her father is always too busy and never truly cares about her. She even believes that he will not bother paying the ransom to save her. Joey chooses not to respond too much to that statement and prepares to leave the room, but just before she walks out, Abigail suddenly apologizes to her with a strange expression on her face, almost as if she already knows something terrible is about to happen. The unsettling moment leaves Joey feeling suspicious, so she later approaches Frank and asks if he knows who Abigail's father really is. Surprisingly, Frank admits that even he has never been told the identity of the man behind the ransom. Still curious, Frank eventually decides to question Abigail himself. The moment he enters the room and notices that Abigail's blindfold has already been removed, he immediately panics, covers his face, and points a gun at her while forcing her to look away. Under pressure, Abigail finally reveals her father's name, Christophe Lazar.
Look away! Don't fucking look at me! You see my face? Who is your father?
My father is Christophe Lazar.
The second Frank hears that name, his entire expression changes. He quickly gathers the others and warns them that they are in serious trouble and should leave the mansion immediately. Frank explains that Christophe Lazar is an extremely dangerous man, the leader of a massive criminal organization with influence all over the world, and someone known for brutally destroying anyone who dares to stand against him. Joey and Rick, who have both heard stories about Lazar before, add even more terrifying details, making the atmosphere far more tense. However, while everyone else is afraid, Dean sees things differently. He argues that they cannot simply walk away now, especially with $50 million on the line, an amount of money that all of them desperately need. His words eventually convince Frank to stay, although he decides they need to be far more cautious moving forward. He orders everyone to search every corner of the mansion and make sure nobody from Lazar's organization has infiltrated the property. Elsewhere in the mansion, Sammy is relaxing in her room watching television when she suddenly realizes that Dean has already been lying on her bed without her noticing him earlier. Annoyed by his creepy behavior, she angrily kicks him out of the room. Dean leaves and heads toward the kitchen, but once there, he becomes disturbed after seeing a door slowly open by itself. He cautiously checks the area but finds absolutely nothing suspicious. However, the moment he turns around, something invisible suddenly drags his body away.
Man, fuck this shit.
Dean's terrified scream echoes through the mansion and reaches Sammy's ears. At first, she assumes Dean is just messing with her again, but curiosity eventually pushes her to investigate. A short time later, she discovers Dean sitting motionless, but when she gets closer, she is horrified to realize that his head has already been completely severed from his body. Sammy immediately panics and screams, causing Peter to rush toward her. The moment he sees Dean's corpse, even Peter is left speechless in shock, while Sammy becomes so sick that she starts vomiting. The others are quickly called to gather, but the situation immediately grows heated when some of them begin suspecting Sammy of being responsible. Frank instantly shuts down the accusation, convinced that Sammy is not capable of committing something that brutal. To explain what might really be happening, Frank and Rick begin telling the others about a horrifying incident from the past involving 3 of Lazar's trusted men. Those men had once been captured and locked inside a heavily guarded hotel room on the 20th floor. Yet by the next morning, all 3 were found dead in horrifying conditions, their heads severed and several organs missing from their bodies. The massacre was believed to be the work of Lazar's infamous right-hand man, a mysterious killer known as Valdez. After the horrifying discovery, the group immediately rushes back to Abigail's room to check on her, only to find the little girl still lying quietly there, as if nothing strange had happened. Realizing they may actually be dealing with someone connected to Valdez, Rick instantly decides that they need to get out of the mansion immediately. However, the moment he tries opening the front door, he discovers that the entire house has been sealed shut behind thick steel bars. Peter confidently attempts to break through them by force, but the impact only throws him backward, proving the barriers are far stronger than they expected. The failed attempt immediately activates the mansion's full security system, causing heavy steel shutters to lock down every possible exit. At that moment, Joey begins realizing that this is not a normal kidnapping at all, but a carefully prepared trap designed specifically for them. Panicking, Rick runs to retrieve the sniper equipment he had hidden earlier, only to discover that all of his weapons have mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Meanwhile, Joey returns to Abigail's room, hoping to get answers from her. She carefully asks whether Abigail saw anyone else besides the kidnappers. This time, Abigail finally reveals something shocking. She calmly tells Joey that she recognizes Frank and claims that he used to work for her father under another name, Valdez. The revelation immediately terrifies Joey, and she quickly finds Rick to tell him what Abigail said. Without hesitation, Rick decides they need to kill Frank before it is too late. The two split up to search for him, but before they can find Frank, something even worse happens. Joey eventually discovers Rick standing completely motionless. When she slowly approaches him, she realizes he is already dead, his throat brutally ripped apart. The gruesome sight convinces Joey even more that Frank truly is Valdez. Filled with panic and anger, she storms back into the main room and points her gun directly at Frank, accusing him of being Valdez while also revealing that Rick has been killed. Frank immediately pulls out his own weapon and points it back at her, insisting that Abigail is simply manipulating everyone and turning them against each other. As the situation spirals further out of control, Frank makes a ruthless decision and orders Peter to kill Abigail before she causes even more chaos.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but
You're Valdez. You told the girl. You killed Dean.
you let a little girl get inside your head? Well, I hate to say it, but I think we're gonna have to get rough with her.
Peter heads toward Abigail's room, but just as he is about to carry out the order, Joey suddenly steps in and stops him. Frank quickly follows behind, demanding that Joey stop protecting Abigail while Sammy stands frozen in confusion, unable to decide who she should trust anymore. In the middle of the argument, Sammy suddenly notices something disturbing. Abigail casually slips one of her hands out of the handcuffs with almost no effort at all. The moment everyone turns toward her, they see Abigail now standing freely on top of the bed. Without warning, she finally reveals her true nature as a vampire. Abigail instantly lunges toward Peter and attempts to bite into his neck, but Frank reacts quickly and shoots her directly in the head. Instead of dying, Abigail calmly rises back to her feet and effortlessly heals the gunshot wound with a simple touch. Panic immediately spreads through the group as they realize they are trapped inside a locked mansion with a creature capable of killing them at any moment. Trying to regain control of the situation, Frank forces himself to think rationally and orders Peter to craft wooden stakes while Sammy is told to search for garlic as protection.
We kidnapped a fucking vampire. What do we know about vampires? Okay, how do we kill a vampire?
Garlic? You go check the kitchen for garlic. There's pool cues in the game room. Go sharpen them into steaks.
Armed with their improvised weapons, Frank prepares to hunt Abigail down and kill her. Joey strongly objects to the plan, convinced that they have no chance of defeating Abigail, and even if they somehow succeed, they would still have to face the wrath of Lazar afterward. Despite the warning, Frank refuses to back down.
On me. Let's hit the kitchen first. Fucking...
When they return to Abigail's room, she is already gone. The atmosphere becomes even more unsettling after they hear soft music echoing from the top floor of the mansion. Frank, Peter, and Sammy immediately follow the sound upstairs. Once they enter the room, they are horrified to find Abigail dancing gracefully with Dean's lifeless corpse. Believing she finally has the right weapons to fight back, Sammy rushes forward and attacks, but Abigail effortlessly throws her aside. Abigail even mocks them while casually handling the garlic Sammy brought, proving that it has no effect on her at all. Frank and Peter quickly join the fight, but both are overwhelmed just as easily. Abigail then viciously attacks Peter, repeatedly stabbing him in the chest using the cross necklace he had been wearing. Seeing an opening, Frank attempts to stab Abigail with a wooden stake, but she blocks the attack instantly. In the next second, Abigail retaliates by driving the same stake deep into Frank's thigh, leaving him seriously injured and making it painfully clear that none of them are anywhere near strong enough to fight the monster standing before them.
I'm guessing none of those weapons worked.
She is fucking with us!
After regrouping, Joey immediately treats the wound in Frank's leg while trying to think of a more realistic way to survive. Instead of fighting Abigail head-on, Joey suggests that the only sensible option is to subdue her again, using the remaining sedative. Since they only have one injection left, they come up with a simple plan. They split up throughout the mansion in order to lure Abigail out, and whoever finds her first must immediately contact Joey so she can arrive and inject the sedative before Abigail has the chance to attack. While carefully searching one of the hallways, Sammy is suddenly startled by a swarm of bats flying directly toward her, causing her to lose her balance and fall into a hidden pool filled with human corpses. Elsewhere in the mansion, Peter suddenly comes face to face with Abigail after she appears out of nowhere and immediately begins chasing him. Terrified, Peter runs blindly through the mansion until he crashes into a door that Frank opens at the last second, causing Peter to fall all the way down to the lower floor and lose consciousness. Abigail instantly shifts her attention from Peter to Frank and quickly overpowers him. The loud struggle and Frank's screams draw Joey's attention, and she rushes over while attempting to inject Abigail with the sedative. Unfortunately, Abigail reacts too quickly and knocks the syringe away, sending it flying beyond the steel bars. At the worst possible moment, Sammy suddenly arrives and pulls Abigail away from Frank while she is choking him, giving Frank enough time to escape. However, Abigail bites Sammy's hand in the process before Sammy can pull away. Fortunately, Peter regains consciousness at that exact moment and immediately jumps onto Abigail, pinning her down long enough for Joey to retrieve the syringe. Without hesitation, Joey injects Abigail with the sedative, finally managing to subdue her once again.
I'll rip your fucking heads up! Kill you fucking
After being bitten, Sammy begins panicking and asks whether she will eventually become a vampire just like Abigail. Sadly, none of them know the answer. To prevent any further danger, they lock Abigail inside a steel cage, and this time Joey tries speaking to her more calmly, asking how they can escape from the mansion. Abigail refuses to answer and instead gives Joey a faint smile, clearly enjoying watching them suffer. A short time later, Abigail finally reveals a far more disturbing truth. She calmly admits that the entire kidnapping was actually her own plan, and that Lambert has been working for her from the very beginning. Even worse, Abigail already knows the real identities and pasts of every single person involved in her kidnapping. One by one, she exposes their secrets and explains that they were all specifically chosen because each of them had interfered with Lazar's business in some way. Sammy once stole money from her father's company without realizing that the funds secretly belonged to Lazar. Peter, a violent hired enforcer, once robbed and murdered one of Lazar's business partners while drunk. Frank used to be a respected detective who successfully arrested 3 of Lazar's trusted men, but eventually became corrupted by the criminal world himself until he completely lost his way. Then Abigail reveals the most shocking truth of all. The 3 men Frank captured were actually murdered by Abigail personally after their arrest. That revelation finally confirms that the infamous Valdez feared by everyone is not another person at all, but Abigail herself. Joey's past is exposed as well. Abigail reveals that Joey was once a military medic who was dishonorably discharged because of her addiction problems. After losing everything, including custody of her son, Joey was forced to survive by pretending to be a doctor. One disastrous surgery eventually led to the death of an important patient, and that patient turned out to have strong connections to Lazar's criminal organization. After revealing everyone's secrets, Abigail begins manipulating the situation even further by offering them a deal. She promises that she will allow 2 people to leave the mansion alive if someone is willing to release her from the cage. The offer immediately creates tension among the group. Frank refuses to believe her and responds with threats instead, causing Abigail to calmly change the offer so that now only 1 person will be spared. The atmosphere quickly turns chaotic when Peter, terrified of dying in the mansion, suddenly points his gun at the others. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, Joey is forced to shoot Peter in a non-fatal area just to stop him and remind everyone that Abigail is clearly trying to manipulate them against each other. Once Peter calms down, they all agree that releasing Abigail would be too dangerous. Frank stays behind to guard her, while Joey treats Peter's wound. However, while alone with Abigail, Frank secretly tries making his own deal with her. He offers to set her free if she tells him how to escape the mansion. Abigail eventually gives him instructions about a hidden passage that can supposedly be opened from the library by pulling a specific red book. But the moment Frank receives the information, he immediately betrays his promise and refuses to release her. Furious at being deceived, Abigail effortlessly escapes from the steel cage herself. In reality, she had been capable of escaping at any moment from the very beginning and only pretended to be trapped so the others would feel safe around her. Hearing the commotion, Joey rushes over and discovers Abigail moments away from killing Frank. Without hesitation, Joey smashes open the window covers to let sunlight pour into the room. The second the sunlight touches Abigail's hand, the exposed flesh violently burns apart, forcing her to retreat back into the shadows. However, Joey and Frank also realize something terrifying in that moment. Abigail's regeneration abilities are so powerful that her destroyed hand rapidly heals within seconds. Knowing they have very little time, Joey and Frank retreat toward the library to stay within the sunlight. Meanwhile, Sammy becomes increasingly terrified after remembering that Abigail bit her earlier. To test whether she is changing, she carefully places her hand into the sunlight, and when nothing happens, she feels slightly relieved. At the same time, Joey desperately searches for another way out by smashing parts of the wall, but every attempt fails because the mansion is built like a fortress with no hidden exits behind the concrete.
Stop already. It's not going anywhere.
Her mental state also begins worsening after she runs out of candy, the one thing helping her manage her anxiety. Frank then decides to follow Abigail's earlier instructions about the red book in the library, but after finally finding it and pulling it from the shelf, absolutely nothing happens. Realizing he has been tricked once again sends Frank into a furious rage. In the middle of the confusion, Sammy suddenly comes up with another idea. She suggests that the mansion's security system might shut down if they can disable the main power source. Since they have no better options, the group splits into teams to search for the electrical system.
We're gonna go find that power source. We're gonna get the fuck out of here.
Damn it, why did you all listen to me?
No, stay close.
Sammy and Peter head off together through the hallways, unaware that Abigail's bite is slowly affecting Sammy's body. At first, she still behaves normally, but as time passes, her mind gradually begins slipping away until she fully falls under Abigail's influence. Without warning, Sammy suddenly turns violent and brutally attacks Peter, killing him on the spot.
You drink too much.
The noise quickly brings Joey and Frank running toward them, only for them to discover Peter already dead. Realizing that Sammy is now completely under Abigail's control, Joey and Frank retreat back toward the library while Sammy relentlessly chases after them. In the middle of the desperate escape, Joey quickly grabs a silver tray and uses it to reflect sunlight directly onto Sammy's body. The instant the light hits her, Sammy's body violently explodes into pieces. At that same moment, a hidden door suddenly opens nearby, revealing a secret passageway. With no other choice left, Joey and Frank enter the hidden tunnel and follow it until they finally reach a control room containing blueprints of the mansion along with the entire security system. But they soon realize they are not alone. Lambert is already waiting for them there, and this time he no longer hides his true nature. Right in front of them, Lambert reveals that he's also a vampire. He explains that Abigail was the one who turned him and forced him to become her servant. However, over time, Lambert grew tired of living under Abigail's control and secretly created his own plan. The kidnapping was actually designed to gather all of Lazar's enemies together in one place. Lambert's true goal was to use them as allies to help destroy both Abigail and Lazar so that he could eventually seize control of Lazar's entire criminal empire for himself. After revealing his true intentions, Lambert begins trying to persuade Frank to join him. At first, Frank refuses because he does not want to live under anyone's control. However, once Lambert promises him complete power as a vampire, Frank eventually gives in to temptation and accepts the offer. Without wasting any time, Lambert knocks Joey unconscious so she cannot interfere, then bites Frank and even forces him to drink his blood in order to accelerate the transformation process. Within moments, the mutation is complete and Frank is no longer human. To test his loyalty, Lambert orders Frank to kill Joey, but instead of obeying, Frank suddenly turns against Lambert and drives a sharp wooden stake directly into his heart, killing him instantly. At that same moment, Abigail finally arrives and immediately attacks Frank. A brutal fight breaks out, but this time Frank's strength is finally equal to hers, and he is even able to overpower Abigail during several moments of the battle. Frank bites into Abigail and drains her blood until she weakens and collapses helplessly to the ground. In the middle of the chaos, Joey regains consciousness and quickly takes the opportunity to escape. She desperately searches for a way out of the mansion, but every path only leads to another dead end. Realizing she may not survive, Joey records one final voice message for her son, accepting what she believes could be her final moments alive. Not long afterward, Frank finds her and attacks without mercy.
kill you, Frank.
Joey is completely overpowered and repeatedly thrown around before Frank finally sends her falling from a great height. Just before she hits the ground, Abigail suddenly appears and catches her, saving her life at the last possible second. Now cornered with no other option left, Abigail admits that she cannot defeat Frank alone anymore. She asks Joey for help and promises that she will let her leave safely if they survive. Knowing she has no better choice, Joey agrees. Together, they confront Frank once again, but even with both of them fighting side by side, Frank still completely dominates the battle. He violently impales Joey against the wall using a metal rod before turning his attention back to Abigail and continuing to drain her blood until she is barely alive. After that, Frank walks back toward Joey, rips her free from the metal rod piercing through her body, and bites her in order to turn her into a vampire as well. Confident that Joey is now under his control, Frank orders her to kill Abigail. However, because Joey's transformation has only just begun, her mind has not yet been fully controlled by Frank. At first, Joey pretends to obey his command, making Frank believe that she has submitted to him. But the moment Frank lowers his guard, Joey suddenly turns and attacks him instead, giving Abigail enough time to recover and join the fight once again. The final battle quickly becomes far more balanced. Working together, Joey and Abigail eventually manage to overpower Frank and force him to the ground. Using the last of their remaining strength, both of them drive a wooden stake directly into Frank's heart, finally killing him for good. Once the battle is over, Joey becomes terrified that she may still transform into a vampire because Frank bit her earlier. Abigail calmly explains that the effect disappears once the vampire responsible for the bite dies. Keeping her promise, Abigail allows Joey to leave the mansion and return to her son. However, just before Joey can finally escape, the man everyone has feared throughout the entire night finally appears, Christophe Lazar himself. Without hesitation, Lazar immediately attacks Joey, but Abigail quickly stops him and explains that Joey helped save her life. After hearing that, Lazar finally backs down and even shows gratitude toward Joey. He then warns her to leave the mansion before he changes his mind. Joey wastes no time. She quickly exits the mansion and gets into the car where she discovers the candy she never had the chance to finish earlier. Feeling relieved that she survived the nightmare, Joey quietly eats the candy and finally drives away from the mansion as the story comes to an end.